By the time park rangers reached the Sol Duc Trailhead on the cold morning of November 30th, 2025, the parking lot was nearly empty. Nearly. Only one vehicle stood out, a 2025 black Ford Bronco Sport, dusted with layers of pine needles, its windows fogged, its doors locked, its lights lifeless under the gray Pacific Northwest sky. It didn't belong to a hiker from that morning, or from the day before, or even the day before that. It belonged to Alleacya Angel Boulia, a 26-year-old visitor from St. Louis who had last been seen in Port Angeles on November 17th, more than 12 days earlier. And from that moment onward, one truth became painfully clear. The Bronco was here, but Angel wasn't. Before the Bronco became the center of one of Washington's most unsettling open cases, Alleacya Angel Boulia was simply a traveler passing through the Olympic Peninsula, a place of ancient forests, silent mountains, and trails that stretch into wilderness where phone signals vanish as quickly as daylight. Her last confirmed public sighting was in the city of Port Angeles on November 17, 2025, where she was seen shopping. Exactly what her plans were that day has not been fully detailed by authorities, but the timeline is solid. November 17, last seen in Port Angeles. November the 27th, reported missing. November 30th, her rented Bronco is located at Sol Duc Trailhead. Between those dates, the record goes quiet, painfully quiet. The Sol Duc Trailhead, where her vehicle was later found, is not a random spot. It's one of the most popular entry points into Olympic National Park, leading to the famous Sol Duc Falls and, farther beyond, a network of trails that disappear into deep backcountry. It's a place where thousands hike each year, but also where weather shifts fast, visibility drops, and people have been injured, rescued, and even killed in unrelated incidents. Still, nothing publicly confirms what Angel did once, or even if she arrived there. When park rangers approached the Bronco on November 30th, nothing around it immediately explained where she had gone or when she had left. The National Park Service later confirmed that no publicly released evidence indicates her direction of travel or what happened after the vehicle was parked. This was no longer a welfare check. It was the beginning of a disappearance case with almost no breadcrumbs left behind. As rangers circled the Bronco and found no sign of Alleacya nearby, one question hung in the cold air. Did she walk into the forest, or did something else happen before she ever reached it? Once the vehicle was located, the response moved quickly. The National Park Service launched a multi-agency search operation, pulling in NPS rangers, ground search teams, drone operators, search dogs, local SAR units familiar with the terrain. The forest around Sol Duc is unforgivingly dense. Towering evergreens, moss-draped logs, and ravines where voices vanish in seconds. Even a confident hiker can disappear from sight within minutes. But from the moment teams began sweeping the area, one challenge became clear. There was no confirmed starting point, no verified direction, no witness sightings in the park, no items publicly identified as belonging to Alleacya, and no clear evidence indicating whether she ever walked onto the trail at all. Searchers worked through cold rain, mist, and dropping temperatures. Teams combed the short route to Sol Duc Falls, then widened outward toward Deer Lake, Lover's Lane Loop, and the backcountry corridors stretching deeper into Olympic National Park. Still nothing publicly confirmed. Investigators noted that while the Sol Duc Trailhead is popular, late November often brings fewer hikers. The forest grows quieter, weather worsens, and visibility becomes limited. Days become shorter, and nights colder. There is no evidence released showing how long the Bronco had been there before it was discovered. No definite timestamp, no camera record publicly disclosed, just the locked SUV sitting alone. As the search widened, so did the questions. By the end of the third day of searching, crews had covered the most logical approach paths, but the forest only grew darker, deeper, and more silent. And the absence of clues became its own disturbing discovery. One of the challenges investigators face at Sol Duc is that nature itself erases traces quickly. Rainfall washes away impressions, wind and falling needles bury signs, and predators and scavengers can disturb natural clues within hours. Authorities have not publicly confirmed finding any belongings, clothing, footprint patterns, phone data, or items connected to Alleacya within the park. Only the Bronco, always the Bronco, and surrounding it were trails with radically different outcomes. One leads gently to Sol Duc Falls, less than a mile. Another climbs steeply toward Deer Lake, a strenuous hike. Others branch into remote backcountry where hikers rarely venture in late November. It is entirely possible Angel planned only a short walk, or that she intended to explore deeper trails, or that she never stepped onto any trail at all. What is known for sure is this: no publicly released evidence conclusively reveals where she went after November 17th, nor whether she reached the trail on November 30th. What makes the forest even more haunting is the documented history of unrelated incidents. Earlier in 2025, an 18-year-old hiker died in the Sol Duc area. Years prior, rescue teams retrieved a hiker from the same region after a 50-foot fall near the falls. These incidents underscore one reality: Sol Duc is beautiful, but dangerous. But again, none of that confirms what happened to Angel. It only illustrates how quickly emergencies can unfold in that terrain. As the hours turned to days, search teams expanded outward, checking creek banks, side paths, lookouts, even unofficial routes used by experienced hikers. The result? Still nothing publicly stated. No closure, no indication she had ever walked the trail, just silence. And in that silence, one troubling possibility began gaining weight. What if the trail had nothing to do with her disappearance at all? If you want more verified, fact-checked missing person investigations like this, remember to hit subscribe. Your support helps bring attention to open cases that urgently need eyes on them. Between November 17th and November 30th, there is a gap in the public record, nearly 12 days where no confirmed movements of Angel have been released. This gap is one of the most perplexing features of the case. Investigators know she was alive and last seen on November 17th in Port Angeles. She was officially reported missing November 27th. Her vehicle was at the trailhead November 30th. But nothing publicly explains when the Bronco arrived, whether Angel drove it there personally, whether she was alone, whether someone else moved the car, whether anyone saw the vehicle before November 30th. This lack of precision is not due to secrecy or cover-ups. It is simply what has been officially released. Investigators often withhold details until they can be verified or are safe to disclose. But the effect is chilling, because without a reliable timestamp for when the Bronco was parked, the entire timeline fractures, creating multiple possible narratives. She parked there on November 17th and something happened quickly. She went elsewhere after November 17th, then later went to the trailhead. Someone else parked the vehicle there. The vehicle sat unnoticed for days. She never intended to hike at all. Any of these could be true. None are confirmed. And with no verified sightings between November 17th and November 30th, the case teeters on a razor's edge. Was the trailhead her destination, her detour, or a decoy? As days passed without success, the large-scale ground search eventually scaled down. This doesn't mean the case was closed. Far from it. But search operations cannot continue indefinitely without new leads. The National Park Service publicly encouraged anyone with information to contact the NPS Investigative Services Branch tip line, another sign that the case had moved from search and rescue emphasis to investigative focus. Family, friends, and online communities began sharing her photo, description, and the details investigators confirmed. 26 years old approx. 5 feet 7 inches, 135 pounds. Dark curly hair, brown eyes, tattoo on left arm. Last seen November 17th in Port Angeles. Rented black Ford Bronco Sport vehicle found November 30th at Sol Duc Trailhead. But what investigators did not share was equally telling. No item list from inside the vehicle, no evidence confirmation, no final phone data release, no witness accounts from the trail, no security camera timeline. This means no one outside law enforcement knows whether Angel's phone pinged in the park, what belongings she had on her, whether her gear was missing or present, whether any signs pointed toward foul play, whether wildlife may have been involved. The case became a delicate balance between respecting investigative integrity and responding to public concern. And with every unanswered question, one fear grew stronger. Had Angel's disappearance begun long before her SUV ever reached Sol Duc? As December arrived, the forest began shifting toward winter. Snow dusted the upper trails. Temperatures dropped. The likelihood of finding new clues in the field diminished sharply. But one thing didn't fade: the strangeness of the car. A locked vehicle. No public confirmation of personal items found. No sign of forced entry. No public indication of direction. No witnesses. No timeline. Just an SUV waiting in a quiet parking lot, as if frozen in time. And this brings up the most haunting truth of the case. Nature doesn't hide everything, but sometimes it reveals nothing. The forest around Sol Duc is vast, nearly 1 million acres of Olympic wilderness, with ridges, ravines, hidden clearings, and waterways where evidence can vanish naturally. Even experienced hikers have gone missing for days or weeks in this park and survived, or never been found at all. Yet Angel's case felt different, not because of drama, not because of speculation, but because of the absence of a starting point. Without knowing where she entered the forest, or if she entered at all, search efforts become almost impossible. And so authorities faced a chilling possibility. The key to finding Angel might not lie in the forest, but somewhere far earlier in her timeline. Today, the disappearance of Alleacya, Angel Boulia, remains open and active. Her family and investigators continue searching for answers, and the NPS continues to request tips from anyone who may have seen her, interacted with her, or spotted her vehicle before it was discovered. The true heartbreak of this case is not only that Angel is missing, but that the verified facts are so few that her last known movements are almost entirely unanchored. There is no confirmed evidence of her route, her intentions, her companions, if any, her condition, her timeline. The case sits suspended in uncertainty, balanced between wilderness, accident, voluntary walkaway, foul play, or an unknown scenario investigators have not yet uncovered. But what remains constant is this: someone, somewhere, knows something, even if they don't realize it yet. A witness who passed her on November 17th, a driver who saw the Bronco earlier than November 30th, a hiker who noticed a detail at the trailhead, a business security camera in Port Angeles, a conversation overheard, a memory triggered only now. One piece of information could change everything. If you want more verified, responsible coverage of unsolved disappearances and want to help bring attention to cases that desperately need public awareness, make sure to subscribe. Your support brings missing persons back into the spotlight where they belong.